Hi, I'm Chuck Vosberg, and in this lesson we're going to learn about retouching. In this particular project, we've got a section down here that's missing that we need to repair, and we've also got a power boat up here in the upper right that's leaving a wake that we're going to remove. The tool we're going to use for this project is the Clone Stamp tool. It's right here in the toolbox, Clone Stamp tool. Now I want to caution you, the Pattern Stamp tool looks very similar, but it will not work for this project. So for the purpose of this project, Clone Stamp tool is good, Pattern Stamp tool bad. So Clone Stamp tool. Now you'll notice that now that I've chosen the Clone Stamp tool, there's a circle here, and this indicates the size of the brush that Photoshop's going to use for my retouching. This is all controlled up here in the top in what we call the options bar. The brush size is right here. And you'll notice that there are really two varieties of brushes up here in the top of the list. There are hard-edged brushes, which have a sharp edge, and there are soft-edged brushes, the ones that have blurry edges. I recommend a soft-edged brush for this kind of work because it has a tendency to blend in nicely. While we're up here in the options bar, we should check the other options. We'll make sure the mode is set to normal, make sure the opacity is turned up to 100%, and the flow also turned up to 100%. You'll want aligned checked, and also make sure it's going to sample the current layer. Now let me show you how it works. I've got my brush size down here, and I'd like to make my brush size just a little bit bigger. So rather than keep going up to the options bar at the top and choosing a different sized brush, I recommend using the bracket buttons. Now the bracket buttons are on your keyboard right next to the letter P. The right bracket makes the brush bigger, and the left bracket makes the brush smaller. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some of this water from over here and use it to cover up the section that's missing over here. So first we have to pick up some of this water. This is called sampling. I'm going to hold down my Alt button and click, then release the mouse button, move my pointer over here to the left, and you can see it's bringing a little bit of that water with it. Now I can click and hold down and begin painting this out. Now, I don't know if you can see it on your screen. In fact, it's almost invisible on mine. But this is actually picking up from way over on the right where I sampled. And the reason I bring this up is that you have to kind of be careful where you sample. So I'm going to go up here to the top to edit and choose undo, and I'll show you what I mean. You see, I've picked from over here, and I'm painting over here. So as I move my mouse up and down here, the area over here on the right where it's picking up from moves with it. So if I were to hold down my Alt or Option and click here, then come down here and start painting, as I move up, you can see it's starting to reproduce something that I didn't intend. So let me go up here to edit and undo once again. And I'll do this so I've got some room where I won't run into anything that I don't want. So Alt or Option if you're on the Mac, and click, then come over here and begin painting this out. There. And nobody would ever know that this has been retouched. Now as far as this area up here in the top, we don't really have a lot of room to work with. If we sample from this area down here, we're going to start picking up some of these people in the boat. So I recommend we'll go down here because the water down here is pretty much the same texture as what's up here. Now I'm going to use my left bracket button to make my brush a little smaller, and then come down here, hold down the Alt or Option and click to sample some of this water, and then come up here and just start painting this out. Alright, that's working really well. It's looking good, and you'll notice as I get over here to the right, it's running out of water to sample down below. So I'll just have to simply go down here, hold down my Alt or Option, and resample by clicking, and then go up here and continue retouching. There, it's just that easy. That's a good looking project. So the clone stamp tool makes quick work of doing this kind of retouching. So let's put this away and let's take a look at another kind of retouching. I'd actually like to work on this one first. Now on this project we've got all this marks that are up here in the rocks, and we've got some graffiti down here to deal with, and this presents a little bit of a challenge because the clone stamp tool, although it works very nicely, is not going to do the best job here, because if I alt click to sample up here, or option if you're on the Mac, and retouch this, you can see that because of the subtle changes in texture and color, this doesn't match. So let me go up here to Edit and choose Undo, and I'd like to show you a new tool that's designed specifically for this kind of problem. It's 2 notches up here above the clone stamp, and it's called the Healing Brush tool. Now, the Healing Brush tool works very similar to the clone stamp in that we have a brush size. I'm going to reduce this down. We hold down the Alt or Option and click to sample, and then we go and retouch out our section that we want to fix, but when we let go of the mouse button, it figures out the right color. So let me do that one more time just so you can see that. I'm going to go under Edit to undo. Once again, Alt or Option, click to sample, paint out the section you want to retouch, and when you let go of the mouse, it figures it out. In fact, I'm going to use this Healing Brush tool to retouch out these little marks here in the rocks as well. You see, the Healing Brush tool takes a texture from where you sampled and then figures out the color of where you're retouching by taking a look at the surrounding color of the area. So it's really a phenomenal tool, and it's great for this kind of work. Now let's put this away, and I'll show you another tool. I've got a portrait here, and portraits are probably the most difficult of things to retouch because they have to look perfectly realistic. Now on this particular portrait, we've got a few blemishes here on the model's skin that we want to fix, and we also have a couple little wrinkles here and there that would be nice if we fixed those. So first of all, we're going to go back to the toolbox, and in the same spot where the Healing Brush tool was, I'd like to show you the Spot Healing Brush tool. The Spot Healing Brush tool is designed specifically for things like this, things like blemishes and dust marks, any kind of specks that we need to spot out. So I'm going to make my brush size just a little smaller, make it about the size of a blemish. And the way this tool works is really simple. You just click on the blemish with your mouse and it vanishes. How's that for easy? So you just go on there and click on each of these blemishes and they vanish. It's really just that easy. And you'll be amazed how much better your person looks after we've gone through and removed blemishes. Now as far as wrinkles go, wrinkles are almost as easy to deal with. Once again, in that same spot where we've got the healing brush, the spot healing brush, I'd like to show you the patch tool. The patch tool works great for wrinkles. So I've got some wrinkles here. I'm going to circle around one or two of these. After I do that, it becomes selected. And then I'm going to move this up onto some skin that doesn't have any wrinkles. And when I let go, the wrinkle's gone. Do another one. Move this onto some skin with no wrinkles, and there it goes. I recommend just doing a few at a time. If you try and do too much all at once, it'll look fake. There, that's coming along nicely. Now, after you've finished with your wrinkles, it's important to deselect the area. And the way to do that is to go to the Select menu at the top of the screen and choose Deselect. Now, after you go through here and you get rid of the blemishes and the wrinkles, your person's going to look a whole lot better than they did when you started. Which brings us to this portrait. On this one, once again, we've got blemishes and wrinkles to deal with, and since I just showed you how to do that, I won't bother with them on this project. But one thing that would make this guy look even better is if we whiten his teeth a bit. Now the thing about the teeth is that we don't want to make them lighter, we just want to remove the color from them. In this case, got just a little bit of a yellow cast to them, and that's keeping them from looking his very best. So the easiest way to manage this is with the sponge tool. The sponge tool's right here in the toolbox. And up here in the options bar, once again we can set the brush size. And I do recommend soft-edged brushes for this kind of work. The sponge tool has two modes. It can either saturate colors, which is to make them more intense, or desaturate, which is to remove color. I'm going to leave the flow set on 50%, and I'm going to make my brush just a little bit smaller by using my bracket buttons here on the keyboard. And I'm just going to go through here and paint out that yellow. Now be careful when you do this that you don't accidentally remove the color on the lips or gums, because that would really tip people off that this has been retouched. So change your brush size if you need to. Go through here and very carefully wipe that color right off of the teeth. There, now he's looking a lot better. This also works really great for bloodshot eyes as well. And speaking of eyes, this guy's got a common issue here where we've got a little bit of a glare on the glasses. So what we want to do here is we can't really completely retouch it out because it would look fake. But what we can do is we can take our clone stamp tool, use the bracket buttons on our keyboard to make our brush about the size of the area we want to fix. Now here's the trick. We've got the clone stamp tool, we've got a nice soft-edged brush. The opacity of this tool can be adjusted. I'm going to turn this down to about 40%. Then sample some of the skin down here on his cheek. Whoops. By holding down Alt or Option and clicking. And then go up here and just a quick swipe across that. There, that looks much better. You see, it's normal to have a little bit of a glare on there. We just wanted to tone it down. Now let's take a look over here at the other side. We don't have a glare problem here, but this man has a little bit of darkness under his eyes, and he would look better if we could tone it down a little bit. Well, we can do that using the same technique. I'm going to Alt or Option, click to sample some of the skin from here. I'm just going to go through here and just very softly, because the opacity is set at only 42%, just tone that down just a little bit. Well, now our guy looks a lot better. So good luck with your retouching.